Hello and welcome again to another episode of One Starfish, where our mission is to change the world one starfish or one person at a time. As always, make sure to rate, review, subscribe, share, all the things. I'm really excited for our guest today, Mike Claudio. I've heard so much about this guy. Amazing friend to a lot of people in Arte, which is where I know him from. He's a husband, father, and leader. He runs a nonprofit, got a bunch of stuff. We'll have his website in the show notes. Click on that. We talked before. It's kind of an inside joke. But I'm really excited. This guy's done a lot of good stuff out there. And yeah, welcome to the show, Mike.
Appreciate it. Appreciate that you having me here. Appreciate being here. Appreciate the opportunity. It's great to see that like the effort I put into like being a good friend, it's like through the grapevines to other people. I mean, we've never met officially, but obviously you've done a lot being a very public figure in the Arte space and the events that you plan and everything else. And it's been cool to watch, people lift you up as well because of the effort you've put in. So it's nice to finally have a live conversation.
I love it. Super awesome. So you've been a coach for how long, Mike? How long have you been in the coaching industry professionally?
Professionally for 5 years. Obviously as a leader and as a mentor and like even in sports as a coach, I've been coaching for a long time, but we'll say I officially started making money doing it about 5 years ago.
Okay, cool. That's awesome. So we chatted a little bit before, and I want to dig into some of this because I just think this is going to be so helpful for people. You talked about something you're working on and really find it impactful. It's called dreaming more selfishly. And selfish in and of itself, I think, turns a lot of people are like, wow, that's like not good. You're never supposed to be selfish. Like that was my instant response when you said that. So I'm really curious. Let's dive into this. What is dreaming more selfishly? And tell us a little bit about, how people can do that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I will start with, I think there are two sides to selfishness. I think there's the selfishness that takes from others, and there's a selfishness that gives to others as well. If you look at today's environment, I don't think it's just today. I think it's always been this way, but I think with social media, it's become a lot more prevalent is takers don't have a limit. Takers will take and take and take and take. And most high performers are people pleasers. So they give and give and give and give. The problem is givers have a limit and takers don't. And so when you get selfish with your time, you get selfish with measuring and defining winning for yourself, when you get selfish with what you'll do and what you won't do, you're going to piss a lot of takers off, which can come across as egotistical or narcissistic or, oh, Mike, you've changed, right? But I think there's people that deserve the best version of you, and there's people that don't. And some people say, well, that's selfish. Everybody deserves the best version of you. And I call bullshit on that. Because there's plenty of people that'll take advantage of it, plenty of people that'll stretch you, kill you, drain everything that's great about you, and then move on to somebody else to do it to them too. Because there are people out there that are selfish and they will just take from you and they will never bring any value and they'll only bring negativity and they'll only drag you down, and they'll be the first one to never celebrate you and be the first ones to tell you what you're doing not good enough, and they'll be the first one to say, hey, come help me, but never be available to come help you. And that doesn't make them bad people, but that doesn't mean you have to give of yourself to those people either. And one of the most aggressive things you can do in life is start saying no. It sounds so simple, but then the people that are not used to getting no's from you then start judging you. Because I was the guy that paid every tab, that threw every party, that brought all the stuff, that went above and beyond, went out to help people, help you move. And then like I moved twice without any help. I mean, I probably helped dozens of people move because I'm the big guy, right? Like people who know me know I have a very broad stature. I'm the first one that gets called when it's time to move some heavy shit.
Right.
But then when I was moving, no one was available. And I'm not judging them. They were busy being selfish. Right. But they don't take it the same way when you do it in return to them. Right. They're like, oh, I was busy. Well, I'm busy sometimes too, but I still came and sacrificed to be there for you. I still sacrificed time with my family to help you. I still sacrificed my own wealth to help you because that matters to me. And what I'll say the mistake I made is when I got burned beyond my limit. I got drained beyond my ability to give anymore. I went into full blown like, screw everybody. I'm not helping anybody ever again. Which I think a lot of us have had that breaking point. Like you've gone out of your way enough times, you've sacrificed enough times, you've spent enough money, whatever it is, you're like, I'm done. No one's getting anything from me anymore. And in that season, I hated who I became Because my natural state, my natural core values, my natural instinct is to help. And what I realized in that season is not everybody deserves the best version of me. They're not respectful with it. They're not responsible with it. They don't appreciate it. They don't understand boundaries and limits. They're just going to take and take and take and take and take because they're empty, because they haven't worked on themselves. And they're just draining everybody around them. And when they stop getting what they want, they move on to the next person. I realized that wasn't me. I wasn't the problem. They were. And so dreaming selfishly is about defining what success and winning in your life looks like and never negotiating that standard. How you spend your time, where you spend your time, how you spend your money, where you spend your money, where you're willing to go above and beyond, where you're not, who you're willing to do it with. Like, to understand that not everybody deserves the best version of you, you have to get selfish with defining, well, who does then? What does mark the people or the group or the individuals that get the best version? Because even in Arte, I'm not judging Arte. Every group has this. You have people that are real and you have people that are fake. Yeah. You have people that are there for the right reasons and people that are there for the wrong reasons. Even at the highest level, I went to the Miami trip at the end of 2021. It was like it was a $20,000 ticket, right? Yep. And there were still people in that room that were on their last dollar, spent everything they had to be there, and were clearly there with ulterior motives, not just there to be part of the group. And I'm not judging those people. I've been there and I've seen that. But when you become selfish with, okay, if not everybody's right for me, you start looking at people differently. You start analyzing their decisions. And hey, you're not bad. You're just not for me. Becomes the selfishness. Is I think so many people view you're not right for me as you suck. Right. No, you're just not where I am in my life, where I am in this season. You're just not right for me. And people get so hurt over this. But then we'll go and do it to somebody else because they can't visualize empathy of selfishness. This is like that weird thing. People are very good at being selfish. They're very bad at accepting selfishness out of others.
Right.
The empathy side of it, right? And so how much money do you want? What kind of house do you want? What kind of cars do you want? What type of relationships do you want? What type of people do you want to spend your time with? Like, all of those things are 100% reliant on your ability to be able to communicate it clearly and define it clearly, which requires selfishness, right? Because look, I run a multi-million-dollar coaching company. I run a multi-six-figure nonprofit. I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm an athlete. Like, I work out. I have 18 employees. I have almost 100 clients. Like, all of that could be better based on somebody else's perception of that one part of my life. That one piece, right? Your business could be more, Mike. Yeah, but like, at what sacrifice?
Right.
Like, oh, you could spend more time with your kids if you were a better leader. You don't know what I want. And so what happens is, and this is like, you can kind of see a little graph back here. It might be hard to see in the shadows, but when people look at the roles that are important to them, they start to analyze what's possible based on 100% of their effort in that role. But that's not real. Because like you have a salary cap of how much energy you can dedicate to your roles.
100%.
And so for me right now, it's husband, father, leader, athlete. Those are my 4 primary roles right now. You know what's not in there right now? Friend, son, brother. I had to deprioritize some stuff. Not that I don't care, but for me to maximize my potential on what's important to me, when you do that effectively, you have to recognize what is your floor. How bad are you willing to be at a role? And when it happens a lot is people go all in on their business or all in on their health and their family suffers, or all in on their family and their business suffers. Because what they're doing is they're not balancing. I call it work-life harmony, because you can't really balance. It's not equal levels. It's individual, dis-sized, proportionate things working together. Think like cogs in a wheel, but different sizes working together. And so when you get selfish, you have to say, well, I'm not willing to go beneath this floor in this category or this role, which means I have to sacrifice the ceiling in this other role right now and be okay with that. And be very okay with that. Like, I could probably have a $10 million coaching company right now if it's all I did.
Right.
but it's not all that matters to me. Which is why you see billionaires that are overweight, divorced, and suicidal, is because they went all in one category, but didn't balance or create harmony amongst the other roles in the life that actually mattered to you. And so you get selfish, you have to be able to look somebody in the face and say, I'm okay with how much money I have right now. I'm okay with my house right now. I'm okay with who I am as a husband and who I am as a father, or who I am as a wife, who I am as a mother, or maybe being a friend right now is more important. I'm okay with that. I'm good with where I'm at because I defined it. I didn't let a bunch of other people play a role in me accepting what's enough for me. Because look, I've been in Arte since beginning of 2019. And it took me a while to figure out that Ed and Andy aren't always talking to me. Right? So, some of their lessons, but it's not always I'm not working hard enough.
Right.
Right? Like, like Andy or Ed get on this like call where they can't see anybody. They're just yelling at a screen, knowing that somebody needed to hear this and talking about pushing harder and working harder and dreaming bigger. And it's like, they're not always talking to me. Right? And it took me a while to figure that out. Like I'm like,
man, how do I work harder?
I'm working so hard. How can you tell me I'm not working hard enough? And I'm like, oh, he's not talking to me on this one. Like, I'm actually very happy with my effort right now. I'm very pleased with my results right now. I actually experienced blissful dissatisfaction for the first time in December of 2022. Cool. And it was an amazing feeling because I looked around all of the roles that mattered to me, and I was exceeding the minimum required success in that role. Could I be in better shape? Yes. Could I have a better marriage? Maybe. Could I be a better father? Maybe. Could I have a bigger business? Yes. At what cost? You know, I've done 75 hard. I've done live hard. You know what always suffers when I do that? My time with my kids. Right. We're like, Mike, but you could like totally do later workouts. Yeah, but sleep's important to me because I can't be a shitty coach because I didn't get enough sleep last night. And yes, there's always limits to this. And I sacrifice and I put effort in, and there's no one that knows me that doesn't believe I'm disciplined and mentally tough. But there's a limit that how much I can do based on how little I'm willing to perform in any single role in my life. And when you do that, when you balance the levels out amongst all the roles, you're going to sacrifice, quote unquote, the ceiling of some of those roles because you don't have 100% effort to put in any role. So for you, like you obviously, it's very important to you to get people together, right? The Evolve stuff, the parties at the Arte events, like you're really passionate about that. When you're planning those things and doing those things, man, it's time commitment, which means that time is being pulled from somewhere else. Well, so maybe I'm not the best friend in the world. Well, I'm not trying to be. And I'm okay with that. I'm not a bad friend. I'm just not accessible.
Right.
And I'm okay with that. Because friends, for the most part, in most of our ecosystems, are not on the same path, or not of the same vision, or not in the same discipline, or not interested in evolving the way that we're interested in evolving. And I'm okay with that. But I have people that used to be friends that judge me and talk shit about me. I have people that went from the yes ring into the no ring, and now they judge me. But because I know why I'm making those decisions, I have a very clear understanding of what winning looks like to me, it just doesn't matter anymore. And I look at relationships like rings on a bullseye. Right. So like just because you're not in the middle ring doesn't mean that you're not on the bullseye. Right. So like putting people in the right category understands, well, how much influence is that person going to have on my decision making? If you're outside that middle ring, zero. The answer is zero. I'll say, I'll like, hey man, I appreciate you have an opinion on that, but your understanding of my entire ecosystem is like literally less than 1%. So I appreciate on that 30-second snapshot of that one piece of content you saw, you're judging me, but you don't know anything about me. So I'm just not going to, I'm not interested in absorbing your opinion right now. That's just, that's fact. But that person with that opinion's hurt. Right. But I don't have to be.
Right.
Because I know based on what's important to me, I'm performing at or above my standards.
So can I ask you, Mike, have you always been this way, or was it a switch?
No, I was a
like
people
you said,
pleaser
kind
for
of
a
went,
long time.
so you did say that at kind of the beginning. So tell us, like, what was a switch, and how do people maybe not, like, I feel like you kind of said you hit kind of rock bottom almost.
Yeah.
And that's where the switch is. How could someone start to switch it without hitting rock bottom, if there's a way, do you think?
So I guess like in my own story, I don't know, because my rock bottom was December 2019 when I attempted suicide. And so I'm not embarrassed to talk about it anymore. I wrote about it in my book. Like, it was a real rock bottom for me. I think there's several factors that played into it. It's only happened once. It happened after a double hernia surgery. I think the oxy I was on helped the floor kind of bottom out. But like, bottom line is, I was already near bottom. I was kind of holding on for dear life. And then the oxy goes in and it completely disrupted everything. But I recognized in that moment that I had to win every next decision based on my definition of winning, because I lived for 30 years based on other people's definition of winning. What did my parents want? What did my teachers want? What did my coaches want? What did my manager want? Like, I worked in corporate America for a while, and it was always like I was always judging my success based on their interpretation of me. And I made a lot of decisions outside of what I wanted because I was seeking approval of others, or I was trying to live up to their definition of success for me. And in that moment, I recognized, I will say I survived the incident, and it didn't just like, oh my God, day 2, I'm all good. It was like months of like me still wanting to just be done with life. And I remember like Win Fast, Win Often is part of the WinRate kind of tagline, but really what it was for me when I lived it was I have to win the next decision quickly, because any loss could be the end. And so that was the pivot for me. And I hope no one has to get there, but I don't know how to help somebody get there earlier than that, because that's just what I experienced. And when I started making decisions for me out of survival, everything got better. My relationship with my wife got better. My relationship with my kids got better. My business grew. My relationship, my self-love improved. My physical fitness improved. My relationship with alcohol improved. My relationship with food improved. Like, I started making decisions based on what I felt was right as the only measurement tool I utilized, starting basically January 2020. And I just made a commitment that I'm only going to make decisions based on what I believe is right, what I believe is winning, what I believe is success, what I believe the right amount of effort is. I'm no longer going to allow anybody else to play a role in that, because if I do, I could die. Like, that was literally where I was at that season. And so that just never went away. And the momentum just increased with every next decision. And like, even to this, so like, I bought my dream house last year. This house I'm living in right now was like, we built a vision board like 7 years ago, and we sold our house, moved into a townhouse. A lot of people know the story, but maybe your audience doesn't. But we sold our house, downsized into a townhouse so I can invest in the business, and with a plan of like what our dream house was. And this is it. And so this is not bragging, just putting perspective on it. It's like an 8,000 square foot house on 4 acres. Like, we just put a $250,000 pool in. Like, this house is everything.
Nice.
And the final kind of nail in the coffin for me, which is literally 3 years later, is my mom walked into the house that I'm so proud of, worked so hard for. Like, the bank approved the loan, which means like my money has to be right? The bank's not lending.
Have something going on.
Making bad decisions right now.
Yeah.
Right. And my mom walked in, the first thing she said to me is, "Are you sure you can afford this?" And I'm like, do you have no faith? Is your ability to see what I'm capable of just not there? Is your fear and scarcity just never going to let you see what I'm capable of? In that moment, I confirmed every decision I'd made for the last 3 years. And I'm not judging her. She asked it out of fear, out of watching her son potentially fail.
Yeah.
As a parent, you don't want to see that. But that was the sign of, if I would have maintained living up to my mom's perspective of me, I would have wildly under-delivered on my potential. And that was just like such a nail in the coffin. Yes, the decisions I made in 2020 to today to separate from the opinion of others was right. And because of that, I've impacted so many more people. I mean, I impact hundreds of thousands of people a month through my content, and that wouldn't have happened if I didn't survive, the incident in 2019. And so, am I done? No. Am I happy with who I am right now and happy with where I am and happy with what I have? Yes. And there's plenty of people out there like, but Mike, you could be doing more. You're damn right I could. But I'm not willing to sacrifice these other roles in my life, because no one ever lays their head down at night going like, the business is great and I'm fully satisfied if your marriage is shit and your kids don't talk to you.
Right.
So I'm not willing to sacrifice my two most important roles, which is husband and father, because if I had nothing in a townhouse or millions in a mansion, those people would love me just the same. So who am I really doing it for? You know, when my wife met me, we've been married for 10 years. She met me 12 years ago. I was making 60 grand a year and I weighed 330 pounds.
Wow.
And so like, she loved me then. I question her decision making.
I question that too.
You know, but like, he loved me then. So like, you can say all day you're doing it for them, but if they don't have you smiling every day because you're so overwhelmed with the stress of your business, if they have you overweight or drunk or just generally dulled all the time because you have to dull the pain of the business, like, then they don't have you. And I'm not willing to sacrifice that for any amount of money. And because of that, my business has grown like 100% 3 years or 4 years in a row. Could it be more? Yes. Could I be traveling more and speaking more? Yes. When we moved last year, we moved cities, we moved routines, we moved away from help, we started homeschooling. I'm like, I canceled like 10 speaking engagements last year because my family needed me home to help them through that transition. Did that negatively impact my business? Yes. Are we still up 50% year over year? Yes. So I've proven I can be selfish in my decision making. I can say no to people. I can say no to money and still win based on my definition of winning. And so like, I don't know.
How do you shut down, like, because we talked about this a little bit before, and I feel this is something that especially a lot of high achievers really look at is like everyone else. And we talked about that, the comparison game. And it's so easy to be in that comparison game. I mean, there's always people that maybe you're doing, quote, better than, and then there's always people you're doing like, quote, worse than. How do you shut that off and put blinders up? What are some tips that you could give someone on, like, you know?
So I think I'm blessed because I've been a business coach for 5 years. You know, I've coached hundreds of companies. So I've seen under the hood of enough businesses to be like, well, that whole story isn't true, right?
Right.
But the simple answer I realize is, and I've coached people through is like, Angela, do you believe anybody knows your entire story? No. So then you don't know everybody's entire story.
Right.
All you know is what they want you to know. Are you out there putting your dirty laundry up for everybody to see? Probably not. So they aren't either. Mm-hmm. And so that was the lesson I learned is well, not everybody knows my story, which means I don't know everybody's story. I don't share all my dirty laundry, which means they don't share their dirty laundry. So I don't have the whole story, so I can't pass judgment on what they're doing. You know, when you get in the whole like business world where people are just bragging about gross revenue, not the right measurement tool of success, right? Not the right measurement tool at all. There's plenty of people bragging about growth in their gross revenue that are, you know, getting their 5th loan of the year because they can't make payroll work because their pricing's not right, or they're not efficient, or they
no problem.
Haven't adjusted for this. There's all those types of things. I think you understand that very well from the financial side as well, right? And so I recognize that I don't have their whole story, so I can't pass judgment, good or bad. They don't have my whole story, so I don't give them permission to pass judgment, good or bad. So if I'm not giving them permission, I don't have permission to judge them either. And that helps me just be like, okay, great. That's one thing they're doing well. That's awesome. They've been on their 5th vacation. Awesome, cool. Like, I love my house. I don't really want to leave. So why am I judging my life to that, right? So it's the people who haven't built the life they want or pivoted every 90 days to something different that start to really get impacted by other people winning. When you're defining what winning looks like and you fall in the monotony of following that game plan every day, I call it your championship day. You're doing the activity you're supposed to do every day. You generally don't care what people think. And I have a great analogy of this. It's a story I think most people can relate to. And I'm sure, you know, Angela, you've won at some level in some way, shape, or form in your life, whether athletically or in business or something, right? And when you win something, let's say you get first place or you get gold medal or whatever it is, and you know you didn't put everything you had into that effort going into that competition, that's when you start to feel guilty for the praise and you start minimizing what everybody said. Hey, man, great job. Yeah, I mean, I guess it was okay. Even though you won, you minimize the positive feedback because you know you didn't put everything into that competition. Right. You almost feel guilty for winning. Vice versa, if you put everything into that effort, if you follow the diet, follow the routine, follow the activity, do the work, and you don't win, you know for a fact you did everything you could to do that. Win or loss, you won because you were perfect in your commitment to yourself. And then no matter what anybody says, you don't care either.
True.
So literally the only measurement we actually use as high performers is our commitment to our disciplines and to our activity that we said we were going to do in preparation. That's all that matters to us. Mm-hmm. And I guarantee there's somebody listening right now who's won something and knows the exact guilt I'm talking about when people started celebrating them. Mm-hmm. And because in their head, they're going, if you knew the whole story, you probably wouldn't be celebrating me right now.
Yeah. That was.
If you knew how I yelled at my wife yesterday, or you knew how I haven't seen any of my kids' stuff, or if you saw the drugs or the porn or the drinking or whatever, you probably wouldn't be, I can't really handle your celebration of me because I know I'm not doing everything I can be doing to be right. Mm-hmm. Vice versa, you've done everything right. You don't even look to other people to recognize you. You can lose and walk away so proud. True. So that's how. I guess a longer answer to your question of,
like it.
How to start to minimize the impact of the comparative analysis.
And I think you touched on something that I think a lot of people, including myself, have thought about. Is like you keep saying you need to define winning. And I think most people have no idea what they actually want.
Right.
Like, Bob Proctor talks about like, what do you want? And even me, I'm like, what do I want? And like really getting laser focused on that. Is there a tip that, I could tell what you want? Is there something that would help someone like get to that point of like really knowing what do they even want? What is winning to that person?
Yeah, so I think there's a few things that I help coach and teach because I deal with high successful entrepreneurs who don't feel like they're winning. Like that's kind of my ideal client right now is somebody who's successful but doesn't feel it. And so I have a lot of these conversations. So there's a few different things. The first that I ask all my clients to answer is who do I want to be and what do I want to be known for in each of the roles that matter to me? And this is not one thing. Like I probably have 40 or 50 things like I want to be or I want to be known for. It's probably 40 or 50 things. And I look at it by role. Like who do I want to be as a husband? What do I want to be known as a husband? Right. And that like what I want to be known for as a husband, like starts to impact how you operate when no one's watching. Because you actually like, if somebody saw me act like this right now, would I be living up to who I want to be known for? No, I have to pivot. And so that's who do I want to be and what do I want to be known for by role. The second tactic, which I think is also going to maybe potentially like trigger you a little bit, is I like using jealousy as a tool. Interesting. And so when you're selfish to help others, jealousy can also be utilized as a trigger, your body telling you want something. Well, in an abundant mindset, just because they have it doesn't mean you need to take it from them to have it. Like I don't get triggered or jealous by boats or Lamborghinis or like I want to fly private, but I don't really want to own a jet, right? That just seems like a nuisance. I've had a couple of short-term rentals. I'm like, having a plane just sounds terrible. So those things don't bug me, but like lifestyle things like a nanny, pool person, landscaper, chef, those things trigger me. And so the jealousy, in my opinion, is even relationships with the spouse. If I see a couple, I'm like, damn, I really like the way they operate. Like, okay, I don't say like, okay, I'm jealous of that. That doesn't mean I need to take from them to have it. It's like, that's a depiction of my body telling me as a trigger, that's something I want. Let me go work to get it. And I think jealousy is an incredibly strong tool of what actually matters to you. If you look at, let's say like, Ed's Island, zero jealousy over that, right? That just sounds like you think like rentals are money pits. What does owning an island look like? Right? Like it does like that doesn't like, yeah, it sounds cool to say, man, yeah, I'm gonna own an island one day with boats and planes. I'm gonna take my helicopter to it. Cool. None of that excites me. I want to be home with my kids. Right. Like I don't need 6 houses. Okay. Like, and cool. Like, and it's like, well, Mike, you're just not dreaming big enough. Fuck you. With all due respect, that's not what I want. And I'm okay with that. Mm-hmm. And so building vision boards is part of that jealousy thing. So you can actually go to Amazon. I didn't realize, I learned this way too late. You can go to Amazon and buy vision board books.
Really?
Yeah, it's a book that has like single-sided photos throughout, like it's like hundreds of photos in a book. You cut them out. as opposed to spending like 10 grand on magazines for the freaking grocery store.
Yeah, or go to the recycle bin. And
oh yeah, no, I've spent years doing it the wrong way. Amazon has vision board books.
Wow, that's so cool.
And so what I do is I flip through the book and I don't think, I just allow myself to be triggered by things that catch my attention that make me feel a certain way. And I cut it out, even if I don't know why. I cut it out.
Yeah.
And so I allow my emotions to an extent to remind me or tell me what it is I actually want. And so if you think about it too much, then you start judging, well, what would so-and-so think if they saw this?
What should I want? What
should I want? No, I don't think. I just flip. And when something like your brain and body is smarter than you think it is.
So true. And
so you flip it. I'm not looking for anything. I'm just flipping through the pages. And when something hits me, it triggers me. That's nice. I'm going to cut it out, even if I don't know why. And so
good.
Like I actually have my vision board as the background of my computer over here. And I look at it every day. I look at it every day. And it's, it used to be the stuff. It used to be the house. Well, we have the house. We have the cars. We have the pool. We have everything we dreamt of 7 years ago. Like literally when we found this house, it's kind of a God thing, honestly. Like somebody in my network I never met is actually the one that sent me the listing. We weren't looking to move away from Charlotte because like my parents are there, her parents are there. But they sent me this listing. We went to see it and it was like, this literally checks like every box we could have imagined. To little things like I've always wanted to smoke cigars inside of my house. The man cave in this house has a built-in cigar ventilation system. Like Tiff has an affinity for pellet ice. Like she'll go wildly out of her way to go get pellet ice from like Sonic. This house has a pellet ice maker.
Wow.
Like it's just, there were so many things that this house had that were like, this is God delivering us on a vision we earned. It'd be irresponsible not to take action on it. Right. But then we realized when we moved in, one of our biggest fears right now is that we were having a hard time dreaming bigger. And I'm like, I'm 36, she's 33. Like the journey ain't over. Like we just getting started. And so when we went through, Tiff and I go away, we went to the mountains for a couple of days to rebuild our vision boards. And like almost everything about my vision board right now is about how I want to feel and the activities I want to do more than the things I want. And so because it was all about the trigger. It wasn't thoughtful. It wasn't, I'm just flipping through these books. And when something triggered me, I cut it out. And there's a lot about date nights and family of choice and God. And there's some real estate stuff in here. And some, like, I have a private jet on here more because I want to fly private, not because I want to own private. And so there's things on here, one of the ones that stuck out to me, like I've had body image issues like my whole life. And one of the things I cut out that just almost made me cry when I saw it, like that's how powerful the activity of not thinking about it is. And the picture was a picture of a kettlebell, and it said, "I'm creating a body I enjoy living in." And like that was so powerful to me because I've never actually thought about enjoying the body. I've always wanted to look a certain way and be in pain and suffer and everything else. Like I've always been a big guy. Like being small, lean, and little is not in my cards. It's just not. But I look back at pictures when I was chasing this image. I'm like, damn, I look like a skinny little twerp. I'm like, and I was still like 225. Like I'm bigger than most men, but like I was skinny. My face was little. And I'm like, I don't like what that looks like, but I'm allowed to enjoy the body I'm living in. And like that, like as an example, like that was in there. And I wasn't looking for it, but it hit me. So it hit me like a ton of bricks. Like I've never actually thought, let me just enjoy living in this body. And it's just a mindset shift that happened this year as rebuilding this vision board. So who do I want to be? What do I want to be known for? And a vision board based on what the things that trigger you more than what you think other people think you should have was two really big activities you can do to get really clear on that. And the third thing that I walk people through, I'm going to, making the assumption you have core values in your business or life already, is go through each of the roles that matter to you. Again, mine are husband, father, leader, athlete. Those are the 4 roles that are most important to me in this season of my life. And I grade myself on each of my core values in each of the roles, because you're bound to find some things that you're not doing well enough that you can take active action on that are actually like fully in your control to actually work towards becoming somebody you're proud of. So those are the 3 things I would suggest doing. Who do I want to be? What do I want to be known for as questions? Vision board based on triggers like jealousy and excitement. And then judge your roles that are important to you, but to your core values, and grade yourself. Really good activities to help you objectively lead yourself to improvement. And if you're struggling with that, like, hey, call me. Like, this is what I do for a living. So, like, you know, a lot of people need outside help because, you know, we're really good at believing ourselves until someone says something and you're like, oh, when you say it that way, it does sound kind of dumb, doesn't it? I'm like, yeah. There's a lot of times my clients are like, well, when you say it that way, it sounds pretty dumb. I'm like, it sounded dumb when you said it. Like, but sometimes you need that alternative perspective, that objective, non-emotional person that you trust. And, you know, you have to trust, if you're going to hire a coach, you have to trust them. You have to be interested in them. You have to believe they have done something that you aspire to be or do. You know, I'm not for everybody, and I'm totally okay with that. You know, but find somebody you know, like, and trust enough to listen, and then shut up and listen, and then just do the work that they tell you to do. That's it. It's so much. People overcomplicate it, but, you know, I will tell you, I've had a coach. I've been in groups like Arte since 2019. I've had a one-on-one coach. It's been different over the years, but pretty much consistently since 2018. And so, like, having that objective outside perspective of somebody who's been through what you're going through is invaluable. I mean, I probably spent over $200,000 just in the last 12 months on personal development, coaching, and groups. Like, people are like, well, that's crazy, Mike. Cool. But you don't know what I want to be or who I want to be or what I want to be known for. And so these people help me get there faster. And I have yet to not get a return on investment on one of these 100%. 100%. Yeah.
I love that. Well, I know we could go forever, but in wrapping up, I always ask 3 final questions and then anything that we didn't touch on that you just really want to leave our listeners with. Cool. So first final question is, if someone's looking for their purpose, what is one sentence you would say that could help them find it?
Ooh. I mean, like, I think it's kind of cliche, but it's the first thing that came to mind. I've never actually answered this question before. This is the first time I've been asked this specifically to break it down to one thing, but it would be, what's something you would do for free forever?
That's a good one. Like,
I think that's, like, you know, because I did coaching for free for a long time before I started charging for it. And I still do it for free a lot when people really need it. And so find something you would do for free forever and then find a way to monetize it.
Love it. Number 2 question, what's a favorite quote and why?
So Man in the Arena by Theodore Roosevelt is my favorite quote. It's I have it on this. It's part of my Champions Legacy statement. It's part of, I read it at every one of our client events, mostly because it reminds me that winning is supposed to be dirty and ugly. You know, I made a statement a long time ago that no one wins a championship with a clean jersey. But that Man in the Arena by Theodore Roosevelt reminds me to, like, not look at the stands, right? We talked earlier about how do we avoid the opinion of others. Well, unless you're in the arena, bleeding, sweaty, dusty, marred, like, you can't really understand what you're going through down there. And so it's a really big reminder for me to keep doing the work, because the people in the stands just will never understand.
I love it. That's such a good quote.
Yeah.
And number 3, what's one word or sentence you want on your gravestone?
He made an impact with every conversation he had.
Good. I like it. So you run into someone in the coffee shop. They're like, hey, Mike, that was awesome. Like, listen to it. What's something we didn't touch on today that you just think, you know, we should have?
One of the best tactics I've utilized for everything we talked about today was to go find quiet. I think there's so much distraction and noise in our life, like between kids and spouses and social media and TV and inbound. Like, I mean, I probably get 200 notifications a day between social media. Like, go away for like 3 days and don't touch your phone. And ask yourself some of the questions we talked about today, and work on your vision board with no distractions. And, you know, Tiff and I go away every year for 3 or 4 days, and we completely disconnect. And I'll tell you, some of the biggest realizations in our marriage and our life happened in the quiet of that. And so without the quiet, I'm not sure you can effectively execute some of the things we talked about today, because it's too easy to be distracted by even what I said today. Like, what, Mike, you're stupid. You don't have friends. I would hate that life. Cool. Then put friend on one of your key role things. Don't do it just because I said friendship's not important. It's just not important to me right now. Mm-hmm. But go get quiet. Give yourself the gift of quiet. And, you know, I try to do it daily with meditation, and I do the sauna every day. And, like, you know, things like that help me a lot with just getting control over things. But I'd say to execute the things we talked about today, from the vision of who you want to be, your purpose, the vision board, all these things, getting really clear on what it is you actually want. I don't think it's possible to do without a long period of quiet, like days. An hour in the afternoon is not enough. You need time to you need days of separation from what I call distractions and disruptions. So that's what I would suggest. We didn't talk about that, but I think that would help execute the lessons from today.
Oh, I love that. So awesome. Guys, I know you got a lot of value today. Make sure to share, follow Mike. We'll have all his information in the show notes. Reach out to him if you are looking for a coach. He's an awesome coach. So, like you said, not for everyone, but if this is what you're looking for, reach out definitely. And, share this. Let's go out there. Let's change the world. If we change the world one person or one starfish at a time, we can completely change the world. Thanks for being on, Mike.
Thank you.